Hello, my name is Ceri and welcome to my Tome Infinity and Beyond reading vlog. Yay! So today is the 7th of September, the first day of the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon. I'm very excited to get stuck in. Started reading my first book at lunchtime, which is I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. This is my first Isaac Asimov book and it's a book of short stories. Therefore, it can work for either Ship C or Ship D on the readathon. I'll link my TBR down below in case you didn't see that. And I'm going to try and vlog as I go through the 2 weeks of the readathon and let you know what I'm reading and why. If you did watch my TBR, you'll know that it was very long with lots of choices because I'm very indecisive. And that's the other reason why my first book can be used for 2 of the ships, because it means that I don't have to decide until I finish reading this book what book I want to read next, which works for me because I'm a mood reader. So I've got a couple of choices for which planet I'm going to start with, and I'll decide that a bit closer to time. So as I say, I started reading this today in my lunch break at work, about 20 pages in, really good so far. So I've been meaning to read this for ages. I'm a bit spaced today because yesterday I had my wisdom tooth removed, so I'm dosed up on painkillers. It's not actually too bad. It's not as bad as I was expecting, but it is. I'm just feeling very dopey. So I was meant to be going out tonight to a craft thing, but I think I'm probably going to give it a miss and just go to bed early and read my book. So I'm going to say bye for now, and I'll check in again as I go through the next 2 weeks at various points with how I'm getting on the readathon. There's a total of 11 challenges. I don't think I'm going to read 11 books, but I'm aiming for the minimum of 4 and I'll just see how I go. Yeah, so that's all for now and I'll talk to you again later. Bye! Hi, so it's Saturday afternoon. If I sound a bit dopey, it's because I had a bit of a nap, unintentionally. It's been a busy day so far. I finished my first book for the readathon, but I'll get to that in a minute. So this morning we had a craft morning at church. They had a craft evening last night as well, which I didn't go to because I was super tired. But I went this morning. You'll have just seen the footage. We're making poppies for the centenary of the end of the First World War. So the whole church is going to be decorated in them if we make enough. So that was a lot of fun. We had some really nice cake. It was good to catch up with people because I've been away a bit over the summer, so I haven't seen people. And I finished off 2 poppies. I'd only made 6 before today. We started making them sort of June time. Some people have made hundreds already. So I need to pull my socks up a bit, but I'm hoping that I'll make about 50 in total. Got until the end of October to make them so that they can get them ready to go up on the church. So, but today I learnt a new pattern to make. I made this one this morning and it took me about half an hour to make this. So if I can make them this quickly, and I'm aiming to make at least 1 a day for the next month and a half, and then I'll hand them all over. So I might let you know in my probably in my October life wrap up how I've got on with that if I remember. And so then I went to the library because I'd requested a book and it had come in. And I don't know about you, maybe this is a problem that's just isolated to me, but I can't seem to borrow library books in odd numbers. So I already had 8 out, and so if I just got out the one that I'd requested, that would have been 9, and my brain just couldn't cope with that today. So I thought, it's okay, I'll just pick up another book that I want to read. And then I found 2 more that I wanted to read, and I was stood there trying to choose between them. And I kept telling myself, you have to put one back because you have to take out an even number of library books. And then a voice in my head said, or you could find 1 more. So I ended up with 4 more library books today, 4 more. So I now have 12 books out from the library, which is just ridiculous because I average reading about 8 books a month and it's just madness. So I may be switching up some of my planned reading for this readathon so that I can read a few more of my library books, and I'll we'll get to that a bit more in a minute. So then I came home and something very exciting had happened. I always joke about how I never win anything. Recently on Twitter I've won a couple of giveaways, which has been quite fun. So today I got home and I'd ordered present for my friend, and that had arrived. But then there was another parcel, and I was like, I don't remember ordering anything else, and I had no idea what it was, because the 2 giveaways that I won on Twitter, one I'd already received the prize and the other was a pre-order, so that doesn't come out for ages, so no idea what it was. And I opened it up, and it was a competition I entered on a website called Cross Rhythms, which is a Christian music review type website thing. I think they do more than that, but my dad reviews for them occasionally, reviews music, and they had a competition a while back to win a DVD of Mary Magdalene, which is my favourite film of the year, which I saw in the cinema, and it made me cry lots because it was so beautiful. And I won the DVD, and I was so excited. I had to call my dad straight away because I knew he had entered the competition as well, and he was very cross that I'd won it and he hadn't, so I said he can borrow the DVD at some point. So, I know you really actually just want to know about the books, because this is a booktube channel and I've been rambling about other stuff. So I have just finished iRobot, hooray, my first book on the TBR, hooray. I mentioned when I was planning my TBR that that book could work for Ship C or Ship D on the Readathon, because it is a book of short stories, which would be Ship C, A Short Jump to a Neighbouring Planet, and it could be Ship D, the Oops, You Hit the Asteroid Belt, read a new to you author. So this was my first Asimov book, and it's a collection of short stories. They are linked around the theme, and I hadn't realised that some of the same characters appear through them, but each story was initially published separately, and they've sort of been loosely threaded together with some sort of connecting material, but it's still a collection of short stories. Everyone acknowledges it as a collection of short stories. So I was going to decide based on what book I want to read next, but I've sort of been having a bit more of a look at the planet map for Tome Infinity and Beyond, and trying to work out what books I want to get to on the readathon. And actually, because of my library situation, I want to try and hit the library books on the list sooner rather than later, and picked a couple of challenges that I could put in library books. So my options next, if I take Ship D, I would be hitting the asteroid belt, which I just had one pick for, which was Illuminae. Or if I took Ship C, I would be going to Venus, and I originally had 2 choices for that, which were Cinder, which was actually a book I won in a Twitter giveaway, a Bookish Wish one, or The Counterfeit Guest, which is historical fiction. And then I thought I have 2 books that I have out from the library that probably could work for Venus as well. So I've got Dumpling and I've got Shadow and Bone. The topic for Venus is read a book with a bold female main character, and the asteroid belt is read a space opera. So I think I'm going to go for Venus next, because that will get me to the sun more quickly. Well, I could go to the sun afterwards, which is another library book. And I think, well, as I've just said, I've now got 4 choices for that. So, I don't really know. I'm not feeling The Counterfeit Guest right now, to be honest. I'm feeling like I need to read one of my library books. So, and I have another challenge that I might use Cinder for later. So, this is hard to decide. I might just read the first sentence. Oh, Shadow and Bone has a map. I like books with maps. I think I'm going to go Shadow and Bone. I'm hoping that Alina turns out to be bold, because she's described on the back as a pale, lonely orphan, but she's definitely the central character. I've heard really good things about this book on BookTube, so I think I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to read for a bit now, maybe read a chapter or 2, and then I'm going to cook dinner, and then I'm probably going to have an early night and read in bed. So I'm going to say bye for now, and I might update again today, or I might just wait until tomorrow. Hello, so it is Sunday, 9th of September. It is the afternoon. It is day 3 of the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon. I am very tired. I have just filmed a couple of videos. We got a little bit emotional, not gonna lie. And yeah, where have I put it? Oh, it's here. So this afternoon I haven't taken it out of the sleeve and it's stuck. I finished reading Shadow and Bone. Yay! Oh, he's fallen down. I suppose I better introduce him. He's my mascot for these videos. This is Captain Nigel. I won him in a Christmas cracker when I was a teenager. He's some sort of spaceman. Anyway, he's being very naughty. Sit there on my shoulder. Don't mess around. Right. like a little parrot. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I finished Shadow and Bone, yay! It was really good. I was really impressed actually. I wasn't sure, because it's been quite hyped on BookTube, but it deserves it. It deserves the hype. I really enjoyed it. And Alina was very bold, which was what I was looking for, because I was doing the challenge for Venus, which was read a book with a bold female protagonist. Really excited to try and get hold of the next book in the series, which is called Siege in the Storm, which I'm pretty sure my library has it, but I'm not going to let myself request it from the library until I've returned some of my other library books, because I have so many at the moment. So, next on my list, I'm just going to double check, but I think from Venus I can go to Mercury or the Sun. The challenge for the Sun is Solar Flares, read a book featuring a solar-based event. In my TBR I had a couple of options for this, but the main one was a library book, so that was why I had a backup option. So my choice for this is The Ship by Antonia Honeywell. I'm thinking it has a solar event because it features the sun quite prominently on the front. It's about a apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic society. I'm really intrigued to read that. As I say, it's a library book, which I'm trying to prioritise at the moment, but because my last book was quite intense, I might opt for Mercury. So Mercury, the smallest planet, read a book under 250 pages. I had 3 options for this. I am going to pick one of them. So my first option was Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis, which is sci-fi. My second option was The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, which I think is fantasy. And my third option is called Lifted by Hilary Freeman, which I think is contemporary. And just because of where my head is at right now, of those 4 books, I think I'm going to go for this one, but I might just have another look at them up and see where I can go. If I do Mercury next, then I can go to the Sun afterwards, and from the Sun I can go to various places. Or if I do the Sun next, then I can go to Mercury afterwards and then to the asteroid belt. Oh, decisions. I'm super confused right now about what we're just reading. I'm so tired. I think I might get stranded somewhere. I don't know which book to read next. Alright, I'm going to have something to eat because I haven't eaten yet. And then when I have had some food, I might be able to make a decision. I'll get back to you. So, Captain Nigel and I have had a little chat. He's had a little word with me, told me to pull myself together. It is just a readathon. It's not worth getting stressed about. And I've had a little think. And out of the 2 books that I've narrowed it down to, for the Sun and for Mercury, the book for the Sun is higher priority. It's one I want to read more. And if I go to Mercury and then to the Sun, after the Sun I have to go to Pluto. And Pluto is not very high on my list. Whereas if I go to the Sun and then to Mercury, from Mercury I then have to go to the asteroid belt, which is Illuminae, which is a book I definitely want to get to. So my next book that I'm going to be reading for the readathon, sorry, Captain Nigel, I'm going to have to put you down so I can pick it up because I'm holding my phone with my other hand. Oh, I can pick, he's gonna help me hold it. Here we go. It is, oh, sorry, Captain Nigel. I dropped him. The Ship by Antonia Honeywell. Yay, I made a decision. Hooray. So I'm going to start that in a minute. I just made myself another cup of tea. I've had something to eat. And I'm going to drink my tea. I'm going to read this for a little bit. Say bye, Nigel. Bye. Hello. It is Thursday. It's quite late. I should be asleep already. Just proved by the fact that I just thought I was filming for like 5 minutes and I hadn't actually pressed record. So that's good. And I really need to go to sleep because I have an important meeting tomorrow, but never mind. So I haven't had a lot of time for filming this week. I haven't been doing very much reading, but I have just finished The Ship. I was determined to finish it tonight because I was nearly at the end and it was really, really good. So this was my book for the Sun, a book featuring a solar event. I wasn't sure if it would have or not, but I picked it because it's got a big picture of the sun on the front, and it kind of did because the central premise is that global warming, climate change has caused widespread flooding across the whole world and society is falling apart. The main character is a girl called Lala and she's 16 and her father has this ship and he's picked 500 people that he's going to rescue from the way the world is falling apart because there's no food and people having their citizenship erased and being killed, and it's all very horrible. So he's decided he's going to rescue these 500 people they're going to leave on this ship. And I don't want to give too much of the story away because it's very clever, but there's at one point when they're on the ship that Lala realises she's watched the sun set. She's on the roof of the ship, and she watched the sunset on one side of the ship, and then when she woke up in the morning the sun rose on the same side of the ship, and she realises that all is not really what it seems. I really, really enjoyed this. If you like dystopian, then I think you'll probably enjoy it. So my next planet is going to be Mercury. I was going to read this one. It's a book under 250 pages. I was going to read this one, which is one of my death row books, but I read the first page earlier and it just did not interest me at all. And the last couple of books I've read they've all been really intense. So I decided I wanted to read something completely different, as different as possible. So I think I may change my mind in the morning, but I need to pick a book now so I can take it out to read at lunch. So I think I'm going to read this book, which is Julian of Norwich, A Brief History by Janina Ramirez. So Julian of Norwich wrote what is considered to be the first work of prose written in English. And she was I want to say a nun. She was certainly some sort of spiritual person. And I have her book as well, which is this one, Revelations of Divine Love. I'm going to start both of them, but this is my one for the challenge. This is about 100 pages long. So I better go to sleep so that I can accurately take minutes in the meeting that I'm in tomorrow and don't get into trouble at work. I once read something that said, it's one of those meme card things, and it was I don't have insomnia, I just have a good book and a lack of respect for tomorrow. I think that's pretty accurate. So anyway, night Captain Nigel. Good night, internet. Good morning, it is Saturday. We are halfway through the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon. Yay! I did not sleep very well last night, which is why I look very tired this morning. Yeah, I woke up actually earlier than I usually would on a weekday and couldn't get back to sleep. I thought, why waste the opportunity? So I picked up my book, which I was about halfway through last night. It was only a very short book, and I finished it this morning, so that was my Mercury book, a book under 250 pages, so it was Julian of Norwich, A Very Brief History by Janina Ramirez. It was really good. I was glad that I'd taken a bit of a break and read something completely different. So this was just a sort of a bit of background to who Julian of Norwich was, or who she possibly was, because very little is actually known about her before she entered her convent. Well, it's not a convent, she was an anchoress, so she lived in a one room, essentially. She was sealed in. She had a maid who brought her food and stuff like that, but she was essentially isolated from the general population, and she wrote the Revelations of Divine Love. There were two versions of it, so one that she wrote immediately after she had the visions that she had when she was about 30, and then when she was older she went into this anchoress cell and reworked it and wrote a much longer version, which I've started reading that as well. It was recommended to me, and I've had the book for ages and been meaning to read it, and I find her a really fascinating character. And I have read bits of it before, I've quoted it in essays and that sort of thing. So I've started reading that, or I've started reading the introduction to that in my edition, which again I think will give me a bit more of a background, but this was really useful. I'm glad I read this first so that I can understand better some of the themes that are going to come up in that book. On my readathon, so my next option, I only have one place I can go from Mercury, and that is to Saturn. And for once I'm actually sticking with my TBR, and I only picked one book for this in the first place anyway, so that is quite surprising really, seeing as of the 4 books I've read, only 2 of them were on my TBR, and of the other ones I'd had multiple options. Anyway, so the point is I'm going to be reading Illuminae by Amie, Kaufman and Kristoff. I've heard so many things about this series and I've been wanting to read it for ages, so I'm picking it up today. It is quite hefty. This edition has about 600 pages, but I've heard that because the format is quite a quick read, so hopefully we'll get through that over this weekend, and then I need to figure out where I'm going next. I'd like to get to Saturn and to Neptune. I think I can go to Saturn after the asteroid belt. So Illuminae is for the asteroid belt, and the challenge for that is read a space opera. Yeah, I still have quite a lot of planets that I could get to, and I don't know where I'm going to end up. So I'll see how long Illuminae takes me, and then I'll probably go to Saturn next, but we'll see. So today is Saturday, it's about 9:20 past 9. I've got to go out in about an hour, but I've got my breakfast, I've got an hour to do some reading, so I'm going to get on with it. And I will update you again soon. I think what I've been doing is just sort of topping and tailing the books, and I'm probably going to carry on doing that, so I'll let you know when I finish Illuminae and what I thought of it. So, bye for now. Hello, it's Monday night. I stayed up way too late reading again. I was just going to read a little bit tonight, but then I just got to the point where I had to finish Illuminae, and part of the format makes it really compulsive reading, that you just want to see what's going to happen on the next page. This book is beautiful. The way it's formatted, with all the different stuff. I'm too tired to think of proper words. It's excellent, and I really need to read the second one now. So I'll probably be buying that soon. So, I'm going to Saturn next. And this is my book for Saturn. The prompt is a book with circles on the cover. Well, this has got polka dots. It's not sci-fi. It's about an Icelandic fishing village. So it works for my read around the world. And then I don't know what to do after that. This is quite a short book, so I should finish it before the end of the week. The book that I most want to read after this one is Neptune, but I can't go direct there. So I may just stop on this one and then read the book for Neptune. But I'm not sure. I'll see how long it takes me to read this one. And now I really need to go to bed because I have work tomorrow, but I'm only filing all day. So at least it won't require too much brain power. I'm such an idiot. I don't know why I do this to myself. I was meant to have an early night tonight. Anyway, time to go. Bye. So it's Saturday evening. The Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon officially finished last night. I actually finished off my last book this morning because yesterday evening was so busy that I didn't actually get any time to read. Well, by the time I went to bed and started reading, I fell asleep straight away. So I finished off my last book this morning, which I'm gonna allow because of time zones. So my final book was And the Wind Sees All, which was a lovely little novel about an Icelandic fishing village, and all the action takes place within a couple of minutes. So the story starts with Kata, who runs the village choir, cycling from one end of the village to the other and thinking back on her life, and as she cycles there's little snapshots of each of the people she passes by, whether they're inside the house or gathered together, and it's just sort of a 2-minute snippet of life in this village, but with them reflecting back on some of the things that have happened in their life. And it was in some ways quite dark, but also quite hopeful. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I did struggle to keep in mind who all the characters were, so I do want to reread it and maybe read it in one sitting because it's only quite short, and I read it over a couple of days. But if I just had a day where I could just sit and read it in one go, I think I'd be able to keep the characters in my head a bit better. But it was beautifully written. I really recommend it, and this ticked off Iceland for me on my Read Around the World challenge, which was really cool. So that was my final book, which was for Saturn because it's got circles on the cover. It's polka dots. I really love this cover. This is meant to be Kata's skirt as she's riding her bicycle, and I just think it's beautiful. And I've noticed that about Perrine books. All of their books that I've got so far are really beautiful. So I've ended up on Saturn. I think we're officially being dubbed the Ringers, all the people that have decided to colonise Saturn. I think I might pick one of the moons to settle on because that might be a bit easier than actually trying to settle on the actual planet because it's a gas giant. Or maybe we could use the rings because they're made up of rocks and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, getting sidetracked. So I read 6 books in total for the challenge. I have got them here. So just recap for you. I started off on Ship C, a book of short stories. Ended up on Venus, a book with a strong female character. And then I went to the Sun, a book about a solar event. And then to Mercury, a book under 250 pages. And then to the Asteroid Belt, a space opera, and finishing up on Saturn.
a book with circles on the cover. That was 6 books. 4 of these were actually on my TBR. 2 of them weren't, so that's not too bad for me either. And 2 were definitely sci-fi. One was sort of sci-fi dystopian, 1 fantasy, 1 non-fiction biography, and 1, I don't really know how you would define this, contemporary slice of life, I don't know. Yeah, so I was quite pleased with that. Reading 6 books in 2 weeks is a bit more than I generally would. I did stay up late, you'll have seen from my vlog, I stayed up late finishing off a couple of them, which was probably a bad idea, but never mind, I'll catch up on sleep later. So anyway, that is all from the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon for this time around. I think they're planning another one in the new year sometime, which will be starting to establish your colonies, which I'm really looking forward to, but there is going to be an option. If you haven't taken part in the first round, there is going to be a way for you to take part anyway in the next round, so keep an eye out for that. Follow them on Twitter. I'm sure I'll take part in the next one as well, because I really enjoyed this one. I think it's a really inventive readathon that they've done, so well done to the creators, whose names I can't remember because I'm an awful person, but I will link their channels. I'll link their channels down below, and I'll link the Tome Infinity Twitter feed so you can join in on the next time around. So that's all from me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!